I really dislike the whole music business. I think that we were given a bad deal. I think that we were being treated as some kind of weird joke or imposters or something.
It was a good time to be creative because you could do really what you felt, and you didn't have that pressure of, oh man, no singles in that, okay, drop them, that's next, bring the next band on.
You know what intrigues me about two guys working together, I did this early in my career myself. Yeah. And I found that it worked best if we didn't socialize, that much and just saw each other when on the job. Yeah. Because so many of the duos, especially, there's a whole list of them a mile long who've been together and have broken up. How do you keep it together?
One night in 1967, deep within the sticky, sweat-drenched confines of Philadelphia's Adelphi Ballroom, an atmosphere of intense competition fills the air. Two young musicians, strangers to one another, stand backstage waiting for their respective soul groups to perform. Daryl Hall leads the Temptones, a smooth vocal outfit with rising local prospects. John Oates frontlines the Masters, a raw rhythm and blues act with deep roots in the city's underground scene. They are ambitious, fiercely proud, and entirely unaware that their lives are about to collide in the most violent manner imaginable. Without warning, the evening's fragile peace shatters. Arguments between rival factions in the audience boil over, and the sharp, echoing cracks of gunfire rip through the auditorium. Panic erupts instantly. Musicians and patrons scramble for any available exit as bullets tear through the plasterwork and wooden fixtures. Desperate to escape the crossfire, Hall and Oates run blindly down the same narrow corridor, their paths intersecting at the heavy iron doors of a service lift. Clinging to the shadows, the two men squeeze inside the metal cage, listening to the muffled chaos outside as the lift slowly descends to the safety of the street. As the adrenaline begins to recede, a tense conversation breaks out in the damp alleyway before both men slip away into the night.
Now, there's a great story involved in how you guys got this whole thing together. It involved a fight, right?
Well, sort of.
Not a fight between us, though.
No.
I met John. I was promoting my first single. I had a band, I had a group called the Temptones. And we were Temptones, not because of the Temptations, because we were going to Temple University. And because everybody thinks it's Temptations. So it was a vocal group, and we had a single that we were promoting around the Philadelphia area, and we were doing one of those things where you'd go, it was a complete R&B crowd, and everybody would lip sync their song. And John had a single, and I didn't know him at the time, and he was also there to promote his single. So we were waiting backstage.
There was a gang fight, and so broke out in the crowd. And so his band and my band, we went in a service elevator down to the street, and that's how we met. And then we were both going to Temple University.
Weeks pass before a chance encounter at Temple University brings them back together, revealing a striking list of commonalities. Both share a deep love of vocal harmony, rhythm and blues, and soul music, though it will take several years of shifting lineups and collaborative experimentation before a permanent partnership truly takes shape. Gradually, a unique alliance develops, born out of a shared survival instinct and an undeniable creative curiosity. They resolve to join forces completely, setting in motion a partnership that will eventually conquer the global airwave.
We started talking, and we realized, of course, we liked the same kind of music, and we started sharing apartments together because our parents lived out of town, and we didn't want to be on campus. So we became sort of college roommates, playing songs together, in and out of bands together, again, working very much separately as well. And then after college was over is when we decided to try writing songs together and be Daryl and John.
Yet, the road out of Philadelphia will prove to be a punishing gauntlet of creative identity crises and crushing commercial failures. The early 1970s bring no immediate salvation for the newly formed duo. Signed to the legendary Atlantic Records by industry titan Ahmet Ertegun, Hall and Oates find themselves cast adrift in an unforgiving musical wilderness. Their debut offering, Whole Oates, released in 1972, is a quiet, acoustic affair that fails to register on the national consciousness.
The first record we made with Atlantic Records, it was sort of all these songs we had compiled. It was a grab bag of things that we had been writing since we were all through college, and it was, it was all over the place. So I understand why that record didn't do anything. We didn't have any singles on it or whatever.
Desperate for a breakthrough, they enlist the services of visionary producer Arif Mardin for their next attempt, Abandoned Luncheonette, in 1973.
Everybody's trying to tell me what is right for me.
Deep within those groove tracks lies a masterpiece of melancholy songwriting titled She's Gone, a song that should have transformed their fortunes overnight. Instead, the industry responds with a collective shrug.
I think that people study the lyrics here more than any place else. They get off on the popness of it. This is it. This is the ultimate pop culture here. Pop is sacred here.
Atlantic Records struggles to market two white musicians channeling the deep, emotive textures of black soul music. The label mismanages the initial promotion, the track fails to secure significant radio airplay, and the single stalls far outside the top tier of the charts. Frustrated and bleeding money, the duo shifts gears drastically for 1974's War Babies, partnering with the eccentric producer Todd Rundgren. The resulting record is a harsh, metallic, glam rock nightmare that alienates their few remaining folk fans and leaves the music press thoroughly baffled. After War Babies failed commercially, Atlantic dropped the duo, leaving the musicians stranded without a clear direction. They are broke, exhausted, and facing the very real prospect of becoming a forgotten footnote in the history of East Coast rhythm and blues. In a final, desperate roll of the dice, they increasingly base themselves in New York, signing a precarious deal with RCA Records. The tension between their artistic ambitions and financial survival is reaching a breaking point as they enter the studio for a self-titled effort in 1975. Little do they know, a deeply personal ballad is about to ignite a spark that will rescue their dying career from the ash heap. The year is 1976, and the duo is surviving on borrowed time. Their first album for RCA features a stark, minimal cover that raises eyebrows, but the music inside contains their most potent weapon yet. A track called Sarah Smile, written by Hall for his muse and collaborator Sarah Allen, begins to pick up late-night radio play in America's southern states.
Sarah, smile, smile.
Sarah Allen, can you tell us about Sarah Allen? The lady's name pops up on a lot of singles that you've done, a lot of tracks you've done.
Yeah, well...
Can you explain who she is? Obviously a very secretive person.
Yeah, well, she's secretive, all right. Now, she's been my roommate, live-in, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what the word is. And I can't find the right word. Yes, a very good friend of mine, close friend of mine for a long time.
Close and personal friend.
Yes, a personal friend of mine. And she's been writing with us for years. She writes a lot of the lyrics with us, and her sister also writes with us. She writes music. She's a songwriter. So we're kind of a foursome these days.
It is a slow, agonizingly beautiful plea of devotion that showcases Hall's soaring, effortless falsetto. The song slowly climbs the Billboard charts, eventually peaking at number 4 and proving that their hybrid style of acoustic soul has a massive, untapped audience. Sensing a lucrative opportunity, their former employers at Atlantic Records quickly raid their old vaults. They re-release the original 1973 recording of She's Gone, pushing it into the national top 10 alongside Sarah Smile, where it peaks at number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100. Suddenly, Hall and Oates are everywhere, their old failures transformed into retroactive triumphs. The momentum carries them straight into 1977, where the infectious, biting pop rock hooks of Rich Girl secure their very first #1 single. The taste of global success is intoxicating, but it brings a dangerous new pressure to replicate the formula on command. As the decade draws to a close, that pressure begins to fracture their creative focus. The late 1970s see the duo stumble through a series of identity crises, releasing experimental albums like Beauty on a Backstreet and Ecstatic. They experiment with early disco beats and aggressive rock guitars, but the hits dry up and the audiences begin to drift away once more. Critics openly wonder if Rich Girl was merely a fluke, a solitary peak for a duo that cannot sustain its momentum in a rapidly changing musical landscape. As the clock ticks down toward a new decade, Hall and Oates realize that to survive the 1980s, they must completely dismantle the traditional way pop music is constructed. The dawn of 1980 brings a cold, calculated shift in strategy. Tired of being manipulated by external producers and detached record executives, Hall and Oates make a high-stakes executive decision. They demand total creative control over their recordings, moving into the producer chairs themselves and establishing a consistent band and production approach with their tight-knit touring unit. They strip away the bloated orchestration of the 70s, embracing the cold, clean, aggressive synthesizers of the rising new wave movement. The studio becomes a laboratory for a lean, dangerous new hybrid sound. The gamble pays off with terrifying speed on the album Voices. The record delivers an unstoppable barrage of hits, including the driving rhythmic anthem You Make My Dreams and the pristine pop perfection of Kiss on My List, which flies directly to the #1 spot. They have cracked the code, blending the undeniable vocal hook writing of classic Philadelphia soul with the sharp, mechanical precision of modern electronic instrumentation. The music industry watches in astonishment as two 1970s castaways suddenly reinvent themselves as the architects of modern pop. Yet, this is merely the opening salvo of a historic onslaught. In 1981, they unleash Private Eyes, an album whose title track uses a menacing rhythmic handclap motif that dominates the summer airwaves. It is followed immediately by I Can't Go For That, No Can Do, a minimalist masterpiece built around a simple, looping drum machine pattern. The track accomplishes the near impossible for white artists of the era, crossing over to top both the pop chart and the R&B chart, earning the open admiration of the world's greatest pop stars. But as the money and fame inflate to astronomical proportions, the sheer velocity of their success begins to create a suffocating, claustrophobic world around them. By 1982, the pressure cooker of stardom is operating at maximum capacity. The duo is trapped in a relentless cycle of stadium tours, television appearances, and frantic studio sessions. Their next album, H2O, is engineered for absolute commercial dominance, and it achieves exactly that. The lead single, Man-Eater, is a predatory, saxophone-driven beast of a track that stalks the top of the global charts for 4 consecutive weeks.
Oh, here she comes. She's a man-eater.
Hall and Oates are no longer just musicians. They are a multi-million-pound corporate entity, an unstoppable hit-making machine that cannot afford to slow down. The sheer scale of their success is officially validated as the decade progresses. By 1987, the Recording Industry Association of America had recognized Hall and Oates as the top-selling duo in rock music history, officially surpassing the Everly Brothers.
You know what intrigues me about two guys working together, I did this early in my career myself.
Yeah.
And I found that it worked best if we didn't socialize, that much and just saw each other when on the job. Because so many of the duos, especially, you know, there's a whole list of them a mile long who have been together and have broken up. How do you keep it together?
By not socializing.
You don't, right?
We work so much together that we don't really, when we're not working, we like go completely different directions.
Which is like maybe 2% of the year. So.
They have achieved the ultimate industry validation, yet the relentless pace is beginning to take a severe toll. Their 1984 album, Big Bam Boom, pushes the sonic experimentation to its absolute limit, utilizing complex digital sampling and aggressive urban street beats to score one final #1 hit with Out of Touch. They appear at the historic Live Aid concert in 1985, performing at JFK Stadium alongside David Ruffin and Eddie Kendricks, former members of The Temptations. It is a moment of supreme triumph, a public coronation before a huge crowd of screaming fans and a global television audience of millions. But behind the beaming smiles and the synchronized choreography, the creative energy that sustained them through the lean years is beginning to curdle. The endless demands of the industry have worn them down to the bone, and the fragile bond that began in a Philadelphia lift is about to face its ultimate test. The late 1980s bring a sudden, chilling deceleration. Exhausted by 5 years of uninterrupted chart dominance, Hall and Oates quietly step away from the spotlight, seeking refuge from the frantic machinery of the pop industry. When they finally resurface in 1988 with the album Ooh Yeah, the musical landscape has shifted beneath their feet. They manage one last major top 10 hit with Everything Your Heart Desires. But the hunger that drove their imperial era is noticeably fading. The slick production feels tired, and the chart positions begin a slow, irreversible decline. As the calendar turns to the 1990s and the early 2000s, the duo transitions into the elder statesmen of adult contemporary pop. They release mature, well-crafted albums like Marigold Sky in 1997 and Do It for Love in 2003, playing to massive, loyal crowds across the globe. Their massive influence on modern pop, hip-hop and indie rock is formally consecrated in 2014 with their proud induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Thank you so much. We do this together? Yeah, we can do it together. Nobody does this shit together. We've been doing it together for 40 years. Why don't we stop? You know, I want to thank Flex for reviving Old Rumors. That was really nice. It was the Silver Album. Thank you very much.
To the outside world, they appear to be an unbreakable brotherhood, a rare example of enduring partnership in a notoriously fickle industry. Decades later, that illusion finally cracked in public. In November 2023, Daryl Hall filed legal action against John Oates over Oates' attempted sale of his stake in their joint business, Whole Oates Enterprises. The dispute was later resolved through private arbitration, but both men made clear that the old partnership was unlikely to return.
Last year, Hall filed a lawsuit against Oates, alleging that Oates attempted to sell a share of their jointly owned company, Whole Oates Enterprises, without Hall's permission. Did you try to sell your half of the company or your part?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did. And let me explain to you why I did. When this whole situation got mired in legality and really complex, legal wranglings, I got frustrated. And I said, you know what? Daryl has always wanted to be his own man. I said, I'm going to give him the opportunity to do that. If I sell my half, he can either, he can do what he wants. And it was kind of ruining my life, to be honest with you. I wasn't happy. And I said, well, I'll just step aside. And people do it all the time. I mean, you look at all the artists who are selling all their catalogs. It's pretty common. It's not that big a deal. But Daryl didn't like the idea that I would sell to a certain third party.
What began in a Philadelphia service lift had ended not with one final hit, but with lawyers, contracts, and the slow collapse of trust. The music industry is littered with these fragile, brilliant alliances that eventually succumb to internal warfare. Click the thumbnail on screen right now to see how another legendary 1970s institution fractured from within in Every Time a Member of the Eagles Left the Band.